And hi, everybody. How is it going? Welcome to the live stream. I'm here again with Zell to follow up where we left off last time, building our calculator app, where I did the HTML and CSS. So you might have, whether you watched that or not, this should be a really fun one where Zell's going to be jumping in and actually making the calculator work. So it should be a lot of fun. Just want to say hi to everybody who is here so far. Who do we got? Dev Mentor Live. Thank you guys for hanging out. Nish. Who else? Youssef. Oh, a really big thank you there, Oscar. Appreciate that. That's super generous of you. Thank you so much. Mocheko. Filai. Box Headband. Paulo Jose. Flamfilo. Archana, thank you guys so much for coming to hang out, and everyone else who is here. There's a lot of people coming in here, so I'm not sure I'll get through everybody's names, but I appreciate everyone. Zepperoni, 3 a.m. You guys are a little bit crazy to be here at 3 in the morning, but we do appreciate it. So thank you guys so much for showing up and hanging out with us for this. As we're going through, I'm going to be hanging out in the chat on this one, while Zell's going to be doing all the hard work. So if you have any questions or anything like that, let me know, and I'll try and catch them and ask them to Zell as things are going on, because he'll be busy diving through in the code itself. So don't be shy and ask questions. I see Chris, Walter, Marco, Richard Sargent, Al Barretta, and more coming in here. So thank you guys so much for hanging on out with us. So yeah, last time I was building out this calculator app, and I just did the HTML and CSS, used a bit of grid, and got it all set up. And so Zell, maybe you could tell us a little bit of what you'll be up to now.
All right, so today what we're going to do is we are going to make this calculator work in a very simple way. Depending on the amount of time we have and how fast I proceed, we might also be able to do some simple testing with this calculator. So what I mean by simple, making the calculator work would be simple things like if we say 1 + 1 equals, it should show 2, for example, and it should show the intermediary things as well. And then let's say if I do 9 - 5, it should show 4. So the calculation should work properly, right? That's the simple part of the calculator. Then what I mean by testing is, if I actually do 1 plus, say 1, my test should also say 2. So the next time around, if I change some things about the calculator, I don't have to worry about whether 1 + 1 is still 2 or not. It will be 2 if the tests are correct, if it passes successfully. So I'm not too sure how fast we will run through this. If we do not have time for the testing part, we might move it into the next live stream or something. But we'll see how it goes, and let's play by ear. All right. All right. Cool. Let's see. Are we ready for this?
I'm ready for it. I'm looking forward to seeing how you do this.
All right. Cool. Nice. So let's start by looking at a calculator. And when I think about JavaScript, the way I teach my students is you want to think about what you want to achieve and what you want to do. So in this case, our main goal here is to get something simple like 1 + 1 is equals to 2. So there are a few buttons we want to click. The first button we want to click is 1. Okay, right? If we click this button 1, how are we going to get this 1 inside JavaScript? Because we need to get it. Otherwise, there's nothing we can do. If you look at the HTML, we see lots of different keys. One way of getting 1, this number 1, is to look for the button with a class of 1, for example. So if we do this, 1 equals to document.query selector 1. And if you do 1.add event listener, click, and you can log the event target to know, or you can simply even log like hello to make sure it works. So 1, it says hello, so we know this works. But it's not exactly very nice, because if you press 2, nothing works. 3, 4, 5, 6. There are lots of numbers. We don't want to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kind of. So what we want to do is to allow us, we are going to use event delegation pattern. So instead of listening to one event list, instead of adding one event listener to every single button here, we are going to add one event listener to the parent element, which is calculator keys, and we handle all the buttons from there. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to call this keys, keys, keys dot add event listener, click, and we're going to say console hello, right? So if I click any button, I should see hello. Cool.
I'm gonna interrupt you just for 1 sec, Zell.
Cool. All right.
I've had a few people asking if you could zoom in on VS Code a little bit.
Sure. Is this big?
Maybe that looks
big
pretty
enough?
good to me.
Looks good.
Hopefully that's good. It looks good to me.
All right. If we need anything else, let me know. All right. So we have this. We can now sense every single button. The next thing we want to do is to be able to get the values or the numbers, all of this, because otherwise it's not very nice. We can't do anything with just hello, right? Well, the way we can do it is every event contains information about what is being clicked on. So in this case, we can get the target, which is what is which is where the event is acting on. So event.target. If we console.event.target, you can see the actual button itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. Right, 6, 7, 8, 9, just to complete it. I tend to like to make things a little bit more complete. We can do like plus, minus, times, divide, and equals. You can see the classes and the buttons popping up. But the problem, there's one problem with this, because if you click like here, oh wait, here, see? This part, like in the intersection of the buttons, you can see calculator key, which is the entire parent element. Why this happens is because we added a border, I believe, or some padding. I can't remember what it was, but it's a grid
The
gap
grid gap,
between,
yeah.
the grid gap between buttons. So if people actually click on the grid gap like here, like this part over here, they actually click on the elements, the parent element, the calculator keys div, because it doesn't, none of these buttons overlap onto them, so it falls through in that sense. Whoa, come on, Chrome. It just hanged. Yeah, my Chrome hanged for some reason. It didn't like the close-up too much, I guess. Okay, cool. So what we need to do to prevent that gap thing from falling through is to use closest or matches. So we need to know whether we are clicking on a button or not. If event.target. I tend to prefer closest rather than matches, because closest can traverse up and matches only stays on the same element. So if I want to check for ancestor elements, I can use closest, and I typically forget about matches altogether. Cool. So if it's a button, then we know that when you use closest, you have to make sure that the problem with that is if you have a span element inside here, for example, span, let's just do this, span divide. Okay, I did a divide one. Divide. Oh, wait. Strange. Maybe I need to click. All right. But what I'm hinting at is sometimes when you click on the span inside the button, the span element actually shows up. I think I did something with CSS before, like there's this pointer events none or something, but I'm not too sure whether we included it. Well,
It showed up
that
in one of those console logs. I see it in, but only in one of them. Oh, that's because you expanded
this
it
is the
out
one
though.
I
Yeah,
expanded,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
But I remember like when I was coding, it was a problem. So which is why I just wanted to give a heads up on that one. But let's go back to what we had before. Okay, so then we have the event target. Let's call it key, calculator key, right? And then if we log key, we should get the button. Oh, event.target.closest. Event.target.closest button. If it's not a button, return. Yeah, okay. This is all right. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to get the numbers of the values from the text into the calculator. So when we press 1, it actually shows up here, right? So in this case, if you look at the HTML, you can see the numbers are actually in the text content. So what you can do is, if you console the text content, we actually see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, cool. And the plus minus times divide value, that's cool as well. So we can keep that. All right, so let's say value. Let's call it key value equals to key.text content. Well, the next thing we want to do is to override this number. So we're taking it step by step, just not even thinking about all the other keys at this point, just 1, and okay, this should show up. So to make this show as 1, we need to find the div, which is holding the 0, and this is calculated display. All right, so we're going to add a display. I'm going to select it with JavaScript, because if we don't select it, we can't do anything to it. Okay, and the display value will be the text content. So display.text content. We can check the current display value. Like whenever I make a new variable, I tend to console log to make sure I'm getting the numbers correct. Right, this is 0. That's cool. We got it right. And what we want to do next is, display dot text content equals to key value. So we replace the number. Right, 1. See, that's 1. Now we press 2, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's cool. We got the first number correct. Now let's move on. If we press the second number, 1, 2, we should see 12 instead of 2, right? So there's something we need to do here. It's kind of like if if the display value is 0, when you press 1, you kind of want to make it replaced with 1. If you press 5, you replace it with 5. But if it's not 0, when you press the second number, you want to add the number in. So it's more like a concatenation of numbers instead, right? So what we can do is, if display value is 0, then we do this. Otherwise, so that's like if else statement, display.text content equals to display value plus key value. That's what we're trying to look for. All right, let's just go ahead and refresh and see what happens. If we press 1, it's 0, 1. Why is this the case? Well, the case is because display value is actually not a number, and we're checking the condition with a number. If we do a type of display value, you actually see it's a string. And most of the time, we don't have to write type of to check whether it's string or numbers or anything, because the console is quite obvious. For example, if you console log 0, which is the the one with inverted quotes, that's a number. If you log a real number, you see that there are different colors. The purple one is a real number. This white one is a string. And that's for Chrome. When I write JavaScript, I tend to like to use Chrome. It's a habit. But if we use Firefox, I think the numbers are slightly different. The colors are slightly different. Let's check. Yeah, so real numbers are green and strings are white. So just take note that there's different color codes to it. Okay, let's go back to Chrome, because I'm so used to this interface at this point. So what we want to do is to check for the string 0 instead of the number 0, because this is what we have. You can also check for the number 0 by converting the display context into a number and so on. But well, let's keep things simple for now. All right, so we check for the string 0. Right now it's 0. If I press 1, it's 1. If I press 1 again, it's 1, 2. It works because we are concatenating a string with another string. So we're not adding numbers together. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Okay, cool. And this is what we want. At this point, I just want to pop onto the chat and see if we have any questions before I move on. So I'm just going to open this up and look at it.
One question we did get was about the font you're using. I do think it's Fira.
No, it's actually operator mono.
Operator mono. Okay.
Yeah.
And there was one other, I have to find it again now. Oh, Douglas Steele said that text content is fragile and explicit declarations in the element are better. But he did say, like, for example, if you wanted to use an image for equals, I think in this case, maybe it wouldn't be an issue, but maybe in other types of cases, it could be something.
Well, it wouldn't be an issue in this case for now, but we will eventually move away from text content for like numbers and stuff. I'll explain a bit more later and why we do that. Text content can be fragile, but it's not entirely fragile given our current circumstances. So one thing I like to do when I'm coding JavaScript nowadays is to fall back to the common denominator. Like if it's not going to break the code, then well, let's just use the simplest thing possible. That's just my style of doing things at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just check this and I don't see there are many questions relating to what we have so far.
Other than that, I'm just going to continue. It seems to be going pretty good right now. I'll interrupt if there's anything that I think could be pertinent.
All right, cool. Let me just take a sip of water. I don't know how you keep talking the last session.
I see some more people jumping in, so welcome everybody who has joined us since we got started. If anybody does have any questions while Zell is going, do make sure you leave them in the chat, because I am keeping an eye on things in there. So don't be shy. Make sure you let me know if there's anything that comes up, if there's something that's not clear, anything like that, and I'll let Zell know as he's going through.
All right, cool. So the next thing we want to do is, if we say, 1, 2, let's say you want to do +3, right? But we don't want the plus to show up. If you look at the iPhone calculator, which this is really modeled after, not too sure if you can see the screen here. If you do like 1, 1, 2 plus, when you do plus, nothing shows up. So we just want to model this and okay, plus is there. We want to highlight the plus. And if you press 3 later, it replaces the image, the display value. So just bearing this in mind, and this is what we're going to do. So 1, 2 plus, when we press plus, we don't want it to show up. If we don't want to show up, we need to handle the numbers and the operators differently. So first we need to check whether is this a number key. If it's a number key, we handle it in a certain way. Then we check is this an operator key. If it's an operator, we handle it in a different way. So let's go back here. If it's a number key, right now we have this number class. So what we can do is if key.classlist.contains, which means whether it has the class has number, we're going to do this. Otherwise, if key.classlist.contains operator, I think it's operator. Yeah, operator. So our operators have this operator class. We are going to do console log operator. All right, just log the event target and we see what that key. We're gonna log key rather than event target because we have a variable there. All right, refresh 1, 2, exactly what we wanted over here. Plus, okay, cool. It falls down into this second if conditional. If we press 3, oops, shit. We are supposed to have 3 rather than 1, 2, 3. So we need to make another if statement check here. Like, okay, if the previous key is an operator, we kind of want to reset the values here. So this is where we need to start thinking about, okay, how do we save? How do we detect whether the previous key is an operator key? What we can do is to save that calculator's state somewhere. If you are used to using React and stuff, you may have a, this dot set state or something similar to that as a function, but we're not this dot set state, okay? Something similar to this, but because vanilla JavaScript doesn't have this, we can either do a const state, which is a variable that allows you to just keep a state in a variable, or to make things even simpler for now, we can keep the state in the HTML. What do I mean by that? What we can do is simply say calculator dataset. Well, we can create a dataset creates a custom attribute. So I'm going to show you in the console in a bit, but we can say calculator.dataset.previous key type equals to well, let's just say operator for now. Calculator, we need the calculator. If I save state, I like to save in the actual component itself. So we need to get calculator equals to document.query selector calculator. And if you notice that keys and displays actually are children of calculator, when this happens, I like to use the element because it just improves the search bar a little bit. It's not too much. And that's like the official statement of why you should use elements instead of just the document, because the search, there's lesser distance to the actual element, which makes it faster. But from an actual performance standpoint, I don't think that really matters. The second benefit of doing something like this is from the code, you're just going to say, okay, these two elements are children of calculator. Okay, next, move on. Kind of something like that. They're nested within calculator. So it helps you get a bit of a structure when you write vanilla JavaScript. Now, let's say calculator.dataset.previous type key type equals the operator. Now, if I go back into the HTML, refresh, and let's just check the HTML. Can you see this? Is it too small? Because I remember people were talking about the font size.
It's good for me, but I'll see if anything comes in the comments.
I'm going to try to pop it up a bit. Just give me a moment. I might have to switch my keyboards. Okay, cool. And I'm going to try to pop this down for a minute. Because this one is kind of important. I want to make sure people can see it. Now, if I press 1, 2, 3, nothing shows up on the calculator. But if I press an operator like plus, you can see data previous key type. That's how data means it's a custom attribute that is being added by dataset. And then previous key type is exactly what we wrote here, but it's being converted into this dash case. What's this dash case called? I can't remember.
Kebab case.
Kebab case, yeah. There's Pascal case, kebab case, camel case, and well, and snake case. All right. So this is kebab case. Then this is what we do. And if previous key type, it's getting a little bit messy at this point because we have like data set and class list and stuff. So we can try to make things a little bit more consistent. Like it's really making my mind a bit wrangly with all the different things that I'm working on. So what we can do is to change this operator into a key, into a data set as well. So instead of saying key.classes.contains operator, we can say key.dataset.operator say key type goes to operator. This conditional feels more like, okay, it's A equals to B rather than does this contain B? It's much easier to read in this case. So we're gonna pop into the HTML.
Quick question, just before you make the change.
Okay.
Brent Morton's asking if the data attribute has full support. Or no, sorry, Ethan Lee asked if data set is supported only by the most recent browsers or if it's good to use, or if this is something to worry about.
Let's do a check. I remember it's not an issue. So data set. Data set and data attributes, it's supported across all browsers.
We're good to go. Awesome.
Opera Mini has partial support, which refers to data attributes being accessed by get attribute. So if Opera Mini is a blocker, you cannot use data key.dataset.key type. You kind of have to write key.get attribute data.
Right.
What's that? Key type. So that's the only like this. If you need to support Opera Mini, so that's the only blocker at this point. If you're wondering. All right. I'm just going to put this back here. Cool. Where was I? Okay, I was going to go back and change that thing, right? So we can take operator, remove it from class, and say data key type. I kind of feel like data key type is a little bit too mouthful because it's already a key, so I like to use data type instead. So data set dot type equals to operator. Why do I have so many cats here? I'm gonna minimize this YouTube thing and not worry about the how I look. All right, and yeah, okay, cool. What was I? Yes, and then obviously we need to change this part to match number, and we're gonna take the numbers one as well. So I'm gonna do a big screen for this one, so it's easier to see. Like we have a class, we have type. Type will be operators for the plus minus times divide, and numbers for the rest. All right. So that's it for now. Let's go back into the calculator. I need to pop this back on the right and reduce the font size because I can't read it. Okay, cool. Now if we refresh, okay, the styles broke a little bit because we used the classes like number instead. So in CSS, you can style attributes with the square brackets by calling it like this. I think we did number. Was it number? I think it was. Yeah, so number and operator can be changed like this as well. Cool. So that's what we have. Now when we press operator keys in the JavaScript, we can actually came here because we were logging the keys. If you press numbers, this part is still correct. So we are cool. One minor improvement before we move on, it's like writing key.dataset.type is going to be quite a bit of a lot to type. So what we can do is to set type as a variable before, and there will be key.dataset.type, right? And then if we do this, we can change this to type. Should work. Right, see, it's working. Now we can even reduce the writing here a bit by destructuring. So we can do a curly braces and we can remove type over here. All right, so the numbers are still working. This is still working. And then now we get back into, okay, if we do two numbers operator, if the previous key is an operator, we want to refresh the display context. So we're going to do an else if statement. So next condition, display, no, its previous key type is operator. If previous key type is operator, we kind of want to set the display context to the key value. So we reset the display. Now we can see some squiggly lines here. That's because previous key type is not defined. Previous key type is just being assigned here at this point. So, all right. So what we can do is to get this previous key type again from calculator dataset, calculator.dataset. Okay, and that should work. So if we do 1, 2 times 9, see that replaces the number. Then now let's try 6. Oh wait, it replaces the number as well. Why? Because we set the data type to the previous key type to operator, and it remains as operator throughout. If we check the elements, I think it's still there. See, the data previous key type is still operator. We want to reset this value, right? So what we can do is we can bring it up here and say data set dot previous key type is number, and that should work. So 1, 2 times 9, 6. So see that works because the previous key type is no longer operator. It's now number, which is shown here. Now we are writing this calculator.dataset.previous key type once here, twice here. We probably have to do it for the equal key, for the clear key, for the decimal key later on. If we manage to get so far, then since we have to do it like 3, 4, 5 times already, why not just make it simple by moving it all the way down and set it to the type, because the type is going to be the previous key type anyway. So we can do this and it should work. Yeah, so it's working. Then the next thing we want to do is to do an equals, right? Then when we do equals, the first thing you see is their previous key type is undefined because there's no equal type. If you look at the index.html, I'm going to expand it again. We didn't create a data type for equal, so we're just going to do it right now. This is a little bit funny because operator mono has this ligatures thing. So if you do like greater than at equals, which is this closing of the thing plus equals, it kind of looks a little bit weird. But that's an aside. Now it
looks good, but sometimes it's when people aren't used to it, it can be a little hard.
Yeah. And usually you don't have an equal sign there anyway, so that's usually fine. All right, I just wanted to point this out because I think last session when I looked at this, I was like, why is this a greater than or equal to sign? And I was calling out to you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back. Now we have the equal as operator. So if you do this, the previous key type is equal. All right, cool. So we standardized the formats a little bit here. All right, next thing we want to do, well, is this a number key? If type is this comment is not really needed, so I'm just going to remove it, and this one as well. Next, if type is equal, what we want to do here is to perform a calculation. Everyone following okay so far? We're going a little bit fast because I kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to guide you through like step by step of the, okay, if this doesn't work, if that, so we do that kind of angle towards it. So if any questions, feel free to raise it up and I'll see how we can address them.
So far it seems alright. A few people have mentioned it's a bit quick, but they said they'll catch the replay, so I think we're okay to keep going.
I understand if they'll be
Zepperoni just mentioned that maybe we could have a comment on every line to keep track of everything that's going on, but I think we're doing all right.
Regarding a comment on every line, I think I'm not a fan of it because when you code, sometimes you want to forget what you're trying to do.
Right, yeah.
Because if there's too much context, then you end up reading the context rather than actually focusing on what you want to do right now. The comments can help with you about thinking about like if you revisit a code, what is this thing about? I can't even remember what is this about. Well, and that comments can do the job, but most of the tasks can also be relegated into, say, testing. So for example, if the test work, you don't really care whether this display value is 0 or previous key type. The actual inner workings of the code, you do not need to remember them, as opposed to what a lot of people think that the problem with what happens is when you're learning, you have this fear and anxiety that you need to remember everything that you have written, and that's not true. And you don't have to remember all the things you learned as well. Like for example, if you learn for loops and you do not know what for loops is for, the next time you encounter a need for a for loop, you can Google and find out what for loop is for. So you learn things to jog your memory, and when you need it, you come back to it. So that's how it's better that way, because the brain is not supposed to retain information as much. The brain is there to analyze and make connections and recognize things quickly. So if you are using the brain to store too much information and you're stressing your brain out just to store information, you're not freeing it up to actually do the creation and coding things that we're doing here. So I'm not a fan of having too many comments around. Enough comments is good. Like by now, if I look at this, I kind of, all right. So I did some sort of logic analysis thing that, okay, if display value is 0, I kind of need to replace this. But if I say, let's see, for example, replace text content, and I do another replace text content here, this command basically is this line. It doesn't really make a lot. It doesn't add a lot of value. So like, it's like if by the next time I'm reading through this, I'll be, why must I replace the text content? Why must I replace the text content again? So your comment should also give you some value when you're thinking, and maybe it helps when you're at a beginner stage, but at my point, it really hinders me from coding. So I tend to leave them aside and only write the ones necessary. Like this one, perform a calculation. This is what we're trying to do, right? So sometimes I write it there, and this focuses me on what I'm trying to do. Right? So I'm a little bit weird. I use comments a little bit like a task manager when I'm coding at that point, if it's essential. All right, enough. Any other questions before I move on? Because I think I ranted.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Okay, cool. If we're good, let's move on. So now we want to perform. Oh wait, before that, I think we need to do something with the operator keys, right? Now, okay, if we press plus minus, if I press plus minus times divide. Question: which operator key is active right now? Like, should I use plus minus times or divide? the answer will probably be divide, but users have no idea what it is unless
Right.
we create like a selected or highlighted syntax for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do is, we can do like key class. We can add a class to it. Let's call it selected. Or you can even do something like this. Since we're using dataset, right? Dataset state equals to selected, which is cool. I didn't teach this in Learn JavaScript because I thought it was making things a little bit too complicated. But well, let's just do it since we're using dataset anyway. If we do dataset.state is selected, we can go into the CSS and say data that state equals to selected. Of course, like all this data type and data state is right now we only have one component, so it's easy to understand what they are. But if you're writing for multiple components, let's say if you're doing SAS, you may want to nest them all inside this. I can't spell calculator first. You may want to nest them inside calculator if you're doing SAS. If you're doing normal CSS, it might help to do this. But for now, we're just going to just write the data state because, like I said, make it simple. If it's selected, what number? Let's do 200 gray, shall we? So like, tung. Oh wait, it's turning all gray. So when we select a number or an operator, we kind of want to reset. When we select an operator, we want to reset the previous operator state, I think. Then the numbers can, if you click on the numbers, we want the operator states to remain. So what we can do is this. Other operator keys will be, I think we had the keys here. Yeah. Keys dot children. There are a few ways of doing this. We can do keys dot children dot. We can do a filter from the children, which is going to be more complicated, but we can do query selector all, which is easier. Query selector all. What we're going to select is the operator. Wait, data dash type equals to. Let's open this up. It's easier to read. Okay, operator keys, and let's do a console log just to make sure. All right, we got a node list of 4 keys. Cool. Then what we want to do is to remove the current selector one from the keys. For each, say element dot state. This would reflect, remove it. So we refresh. See, this allows one operator button to be selected at one time. At this point, I just want to come in and say that, there are lots of different ways to code JavaScript. So no one way is correct. This is one way we just thought of. Another way is, is current active operator is you can just calculator dot query selector, the current key with data set, data dash state equals to selected. So this is another way of doing it. I'm going to show a few, just 2 possibilities. And you can say current active operator dot dataset dot state is empty, and then we set the next, calculate the next key. This doesn't work because nothing is selected right now. So yeah, this only works if if we do this, we need an if statement. So if current active operator then current. Yep. So this works the same way, right? Then it's up to you to choose whether you want this version or this version. It's a matter of pure preference. I choose to go with the for each one because I tend to think that way. Just loop through everything, clear everything, reset the state. That's how I like to think about things. Yeah, Kevin, you had something to say before I kind of said the extra stuff, right?
No, I think we're good. Something,
Okay.
yeah, if I'm checking really quickly now, but I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I remember I was just going to say, when you were having trouble spelling calculator, I was just going to say that I'm glad I'm not the only one who, I was struggling with it in the last stream. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one who keeps screwing it up.
No, what I should do is say CAL and tab.
Yeah.
That's it. I shouldn't do anything more than that. I keep CAL. By the time I press U, it's oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I should use the tab like more often when I'm on live stream. Okay, where was I? All right, there's operator keys, and now we want to move on to equals. All right, equals. When we want to perform a calculation, we need three things to perform a calculation, right? We need a number, we need an operator, we need another number. So like we need, say, a first number. Let's say we do a times operations, times second number, for example. Or if we do a minus operation, it will be second number minus first number. Divide operation will be second number divide by first number. And let's just do this times, okay? And plus will be first number plus second number. Okay, so these are the four different operators that, well, there's modulars and all that other funny stuff, but let's keep to the basic four. These are the four ones. So we need to find somehow in this if type equals to equal, that's a mouthful. We want to be able to find what is the first number. We want to find what is the current operator. We also want to find what's the second number. So second number is easy because like if we say 15 times 9, for example, second number is 9. And second number can be gotten out from the calculator by going through the display. So we can say, all right, second number equals to display value. And if you log second number, we have 9, right?
Nice.
Now we want the first number. So how do we get the first number? If you think about the calculations, right? 15 times. When you press times and the next number overwrites everything else. So when you press an operator key, you kind of want to save what is already inside the display. Otherwise, we lose that number. So the best time to save it is here in the operator section. So calculator, since we're going to save the data inside calculator, so we're going to save everything there anyway. Otherwise, we'll confuse ourselves if we save in too many different places. So calculator.dataset first number will be display value. And at the same time, let's also save the operator. Equals to type. I think it's going to be type. Now, what we want to do is to log, get the first number will be calculator.dataset.first number, and operator equals to calculator.dataset.operator. And let's log these things out.
Quick question.
First number, yeah. Yep.
Max Seaforth's asking why we'd want to start with the second number when subtracting or dividing.
Well, if you got two numbers, let's say, for example, if you say 15 minus 9. Oh wait, I think it's the first number first, right? My brain is jammed up. I'm sorry, I'm lacking
That's all
sleep.
right.
Okay, first number. All right, cool. I think, yeah. My brain is kind of really messed up at this
That's
point.
all right. Either way, we need to grab both of
Yeah,
them.
either way, we need to grab both. So thanks for spotting that before I get a bit weird with the number.
I didn't notice. I was like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah, I remember this was from somewhere further down the line or something. I can't remember. I probably get mixed up with other codes that I wrote before. So anyway,
Another
first.
quick question about no semicolons.
Oh
They are asking about when it's minified, but when JS is compiled, it's automatically added, right?
yeah, so it's not big of a problem. If you want to find better information about semicolons, I think you should read. I think there's an article by Ferros called Standard. I'm just gonna Google it quickly. So I use a linter called Standard, which removes my semicolons, and it's written by this guy called Ferros. And I think he has a. Why should I use standard style? Semicolons. Yeah, so Ferros has an article about why you do not have to use semicolons. So I can't find it at this right away. But since I want to focus on the calculator one, but
I'll
just
see if I
letting
can
you
look
know.
at it in the chat.
Yeah, cool. So let's move on. Like 15 times 9 equals. We have like 15 operator 9. Operator. We do not want operator. We want the actual operator. So let's see what we can do. If we want the actual operator, we need this class, plus, minus, times, divide. Okay. So what we can do is, it kind of feels a little bit funny if you say, key dot class list dot get something, because classes are not really the best way to go about pulling data from them. So what the easier way to go about doing this is to select these values, or rather select the class and change it to data, say key. I think key will be nice. Key plus minus times divide. Alternatively, if we do not want key, let's just keep with this for now. We can say we can use the text content, right? So we can do key value. But the problem with key value is when you say 15 times 9, you get this X thing. And when you do your checks later, let's say if operator equals to, you need to check if it's this X, which is not exactly friendly, because it's like you need to copy and paste the times divide, the symbols themselves. It's up to you whether you want the symbols or whether you like text more. I prefer using text because it's easier to edit. So what I tend to do is you use like to set not use text content, because text content can change. Like if, for example, if someone decides to call this minus, for example, or just do like minus with a span of and set a error hidden thing that says minus, because they might be concerned about the accessibility, which we are not very concerned at this point, then you'll break the code. So which is why someone was saying text content is a little bit fragile. We like to use attributes instead, because that's less changeable by other people, and if that makes sense. So if you use data key, I think we use the classes plus minus times divide. Did we use that in the CSS? No, we didn't.
Sorry about
Nope.
that.
That's cool. So I don't have to do anything more. So what we do here is we can get the key, data set dot key. I think it's key. Yeah, key. Yeah. Then if we do like 15 times 9, right now we should see 15 times 9 because times is this text here. Again, let's say 1 plus 7, it will be 1 plus 7, 7 minus 8, 7 minus 8. So you just saw that when I press equals and when I went back and pressed 7 again, it adds the number in. This is not something we want to do, but this is like for a later stage kind of thing. Like when you use the calculator more and more, there'll be like lots of edge cases like this. I don't think we will have time to cover today or the next one for that matter. So like 7 minus 8 is 7 minus 8. All right, refresh. 9 times 9 is that. 9 divided by 6. See, the numbers are all correct right now. So the next thing is just to make the calculation. If operator, we need to get a result. So let's just do a result thing. And if operator is plus, result will be, is basically what we're going to do here. So first number plus second number. Right. So what we can do is to actually copy this. Oh, damn. Okay. Here we go. Minus, wait, that's times. That's my plus minus times, right? Okay. And then we can log the result. So 1 plus 1, let's stick to simple calculations. Oh, 11. 1 plus 1 is not 11. Why is this the case? Well, if you remember, we are getting numbers from dataset, and all numbers in dataset, remember we were logging the numbers. This 1 is a text, 1 is also a text. We were talking about how the color code of the console hints at whether it's a number or a text. So to get an actual, to perform a calculation, we need numbers. So we need to convert that into a number. We can use parse int to convert the value into a number. Okay, cool. So if we do that 1 plus 1 now, it's 1 plus 1. So this is a text. These are numbers. 1 plus 1 is 2. All right, 5 minus 8 is minus 3. And the result is correct. 9 times 9 is 81. Ooh, why is it 1? 9 times 9 is 1? Oh, wait.
There you go.
See? You have to check every single thing. 9 times 9 is 81. And now 9 divided by 6 is 1.5. Now we have things correct. There we go. There we go. And the last thing we want to do is to populate it into the display, right? So display.text content equals to result. And then we can remove the console logs. 1 plus 1 equals to 2. 9 times 8 is 72. And see, that's what we have. And this is like the most basic version of the calculator being done. Notice one thing so far, we haven't created a single function. Yeah, and when people are coding, they start to think about, oh, should I structure this with OOP or should I code with functions? What function should I write? Should I use arrays or loops? Those are secondary questions. The first question is what we are trying to do here today. Like one step at a time, and then you can make the necessary the code corrections along the way as you get better at it. So for example, like this can be wrapped cleanly into, say, a function called calculate, because if you read down, okay, key event listener, when you press equal, you want to perform a calculation. Right now we have this what's that called, a command here.
Can I interrupt
And
with a question?
sure.
Yeah. We have a question about with all the if statements, instead of using those, that it would be better to use a switch.
Well, I'll cover that in a bit. Let
Okay,
me just finish
no problem.
this part, this refactor, and then remind me about that.
Perfect.
Just in 2 seconds or something.
Sorry about that.
All right, cool. So first number, second operator, second number, and then okay. Where was I? Okay. At this point, like we did a parse int in type equals to equal, but we do not need to do a parse in here. We can do this as late as possible. So we do not like if you read this code, it'll be like first number parse in calculator data set of first number. They'll be like, why do I pass it into a number? Oh, wait, I need to convert into a string. But at this point, you are not thinking about calculation in your mind. So it is a bit of a overhead. You want to put the conversion as late as possible. At least that's my opinion. So first number is parse in first number. We're just going to convert it. Second number is parse int, second number, and we can leave this and say calculate first number, operator, second number, second number. I can't spell calculate. Okay, cool. And you see, if we can still put the comment here to make this 4 lines of code easier to read, but we removed a lot of the overhead. So you just imagine you don't see this function at all. All right. If you scroll down and you start reading, if equal performs a calculation, okay, cool. Does this calculate, which I do not need to know, but if I need to figure it out, I can go and find it. So like that's the purpose of functions, to abstract away stuff that you do not need to know right now when you're reading code. So that makes the process of thinking and reading a lot easier. Now, if we go back just to make sure, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 0 is 1. 7, 7 minus 8 is minus 1. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Cool. So we got this right. And now let's get back to the question about, what's that? The switch statement.
Yeah.
Switch statements. So I suppose the person asking the question is asking about the if statement here or the if statement here.
I think it was that one there.
This one?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. For switch, let's say for example, we can do this a couple of ways, right? Switch. The syntax would be, let's just call it key operator, right? Case. I'm going to do it in a very practical way. We're going to compare syntax and see which one is easier to read. Okay? It's kind of like this, right? Case. All right? With a switch statement, you need a break. Yeah, so this is how you kind of need to write if you use a switch statement. And then we'll do a return result later on. So let's just do this. Okay, so we're going to compare this 4 lines with this 4 lines. Is there a big difference? In this case, we are nesting the 4 different things together. It might look a bit nicer, but then there's this break statement to break it out. Now, the if statement is not so nice because we are saying, okay, if results, and it will fall through in the next one to the next one to the next one. It's kind of similar. But when I use an if statement this way, if I use like multiple if statements together, I generally don't like using reassigning values. What I like to do is to use this thing called early return. So I'm just going to return this number, and I do not need a result. So it's either version 1, this is version 1, this is version 2, if you need a switch statement. So if I can return things early, I return them and I do not need to care about them anymore. That's one thing off my mind. If I have a switch statement in my mind, I will say, okay, switch. If this is, I need to keep track of cases. Like for some reason, my mind works this way. So I prefer if statements versus over switch statements. There is only one case where I actually prefer switch statements. And that is when I need to do something else later. Let's say, for example, I need to say, I can't remember. I don't have a good use case in this example right now, but let's just say I want to maybe say clean up the number or something. Maybe it's a really weird shit number kind of thing that needs to be passed through. Like if you do like say, let's do 6 divided by 5. That's 1.2. That's nice. 7 divided by 3. It's like 2.3333335 kind of thing. It's not so nice. Then this is when I start using switch. So I will do return result dot. I think it's to fixed, if I'm not wrong. To fix 2, and then we'll get 2 numbers, 2 decimal places. Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
See? But well, on a calculator, we do not want it to fix it to 2 decimal places, right? So yeah. So this is the difference between, this is when I'll use switch and this is when I'll use if. Yeah, so like if I need extra stuff, then I'll start using switch.
And another just quick follow-up, with your if statements, they were also asking, in this case you're just using ifs, but there's like, when would you want to use an if versus an if? Like here it's just the chained if statements, but then you could have an if and then if else, and then an else, you know.
Like this?
Yeah.
If else. Well, I intend to clean this up, but not on this video today. Because for example, if this two is the same thing, we can put it inside and do like or.
Right, yeah.
When we were coding, this will not be apparent because we can't see it. This is only afterwards, then we see, okay, they are the same results. So I tend to clean things up like that. If statements in an if statement, well, I only do it if necessary. I like to use as little if statements as possible. And then at this point, you may start asking, why do I not use, say, switch and if? Then the problem is switch, okay, switch type, case, number, for example. I'm just going to do this. And then you're going to do like if you just imagine copy pasting this here. Right? Look at the syntax on this one versus the syntax on this one. Which one feels cleaner and easier to understand? It's the simple if else statement. So I try not to complicate things too much by adding switch. So if is only necessary when necessary. Like there's no way I can do like type equals to number and display type or the previous display type else. It's too complicated. So we do this only when it's necessary. Yeah. Any questions? I think it's time for me to look at the chat.
Yeah, there's a few people just talking about what you're going through now. There's a little delay on where we're at, but there was the question from John asking, like say you did 2 + 2 + 2, but I think that was some.
Oh, that's why I call a difficult edge case. Let
Right.
me just talk about this. So this what we have built here is a very simple calculator. Right?
Mm-hmm.
2 plus 2 plus 2, and it's not calculating,
Mm-hmm.
2 plus 5 plus whatever, right? But okay, I'm gonna show you the actual code. Oh, cool! This is gonna be cool. All right, so I have this course called Learn JavaScript. I'm just gonna do a quick talk about this since we are here, which basically shows you how to build anything with JavaScript. And one of the components, let me just scroll down quickly, is the calculator. Surprise, surprise. All right. If you log into the students portal, this is the students portal. There's the calculator. Yeah, I spelled it right. So what we did today, the first last session with Kevin was the HTML and CSS. Except I didn't explain it as in depth as what Kevin did. I just explained the bare bones of what was necessary. And then today what we did was what I can call the happy path, which is the happy path is the most direct path to what you actually want to do. Like 1 plus 1 is what you want to do. And then we have the testing part, which I kind of want to do, but I don't think we have time for it anymore. Easy edge cases will be like, okay, 1 plus 2 equals, then you press 1 again. So that's a continuation, but those are easy to understand. Difficult edge cases are the ones we're talking about, like operator number, and what happens. The calculator should make a calculation, right? 9595. I'm just going to show it here. So 9 minus 5 minus, wait, did I do it? Oh, this is the test, damn it. Yeah. 9 minus 5 minus, you see 4? The calculator did a calculation here. Yeah. And just to have a quick fun with this, I'm going to open up the calculator and go through the difficult edge cases one. Let's do a local host. So you are seeing a lot of different versions of the calculator code here. That's because each lesson, see each lesson here, each lesson has a source code, and you can check your work with what I have. So that's why I have so many versions of it. So we're just going to do the difficult edge cases. 9 minus 5 minus 5 minus 5 minus 5. You see there's a continuation there. And there's like even, I think that's the hardest edge case, but you can also do like 8 minus 9 equals. So you kind of have to take care of these things. But it's really hard to get this up, so we have to do the testing. Otherwise, it's really impossible. I can spend like 4 days trying to make things work and discover when I'm writing the code that something broke. So I really spent a lot of time on this one. And it's like I show you how to think about the first value, second value, which one replaces whichever values, and given whatever we're trying to do now, the result must go to the first value, the second value holds on, blah, 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 blah. Once it starts to get complicated.
John James is asking when do you know it's safe to start? Like, say you've started working on it, you're happy with the progress you're making, but like, when do you start knowing or getting to the edge cases? Like, okay, now I'm going to start working on something a bit more difficult because I know this is like I'm good at where I'm at now.
When do you start looking at the edge cases? Well, you always want to start doing the happy path, right? When you're done with the happy path and you're happy with the happy path, then you can start going to the edge cases if you want to. Yeah, that's one step at a time. And then if you meet problems with the edge cases, you might want to start doing a test.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. It's really a testing concept. You can start having your own test. Yeah. Edge case, negative number result division by 0. I don't think I handled that edge case. I totally forgot about it. Let's say whether positive or negative is fine, but I don't think I divided it by 0. Oh wait, I did. I think this is already handled by default if I'm not wrong. So like if we do 9 divided by 0, infinity, this is done by JavaScript. So like some things you can leave it to JavaScript. But maybe if you want to be a bit more detailed, we can still do like 9 by 3. And you get this value, right? 9.33335. It stops somewhere. It just so happens that our calculator happens to cut nicely. But if it doesn't happen to cut nicely, you can do like okay, let me see how many decimal points I can get to, that kind of edge cases. It's
Right.
also one of them. Yeah, so it's up to you how you want to do this. But that one can be more easily solved by saying like, okay, just plonk the actual value in, but there'll be a text overflow or something. Like it'll be hidden away with opacity or something like that. That's easier settled that way, rather than using JavaScript to find the correct number of decimals.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? John is saying you need a message and dividing by 0, you're doing it wrong. Cool. You can do that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Kevin, I don't think you have time to stay on for another 1 hour for testing.
Yeah. I wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah, it's like late over at your side right now. It's probably about 10:30.
Yeah.
Do we want to do another live stream for the testing one? I just want to like do a quick check of interest. If nobody's interested, then let's not do the testing one.
Let us know in the chat if you guys would be interested in another session where we get into the testing. If you guys want to see it, we might pull up another one next week and try and find a date that works for us.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a delay, so we'll have to wait a second.
Sure, no problem.
That was really fun. I enjoyed that. It was good.
So Sunny is saying he's looking forward to taking my course. I'm like, yeah, I look forward to having you in the course. I want to teach more people like JavaScript and really help people understand the language and not just, okay, this is how, and not just copy and paste. I just want to make sure people can get through that.
Yeah.
That initial hurdle, which is actually not too hard, because the actual hard part is really the starting. Let me just pull out my students thing again, students portal. Like the actual hard part is most people bring too much into the basics. Like people do say variables, functions, objects, and then notice how I started with the if else statements and DOM and BOM and all that stuff already, like spiking element, changing classes. That's because that's the least number of things you need to do to start building components. Then in chapter 4, then I started mentioning arrays. And most people, when they talk about JavaScript basics, they pull in arrays at the same time. Then somehow after building 1 or 2 components, they will jump into without even talking about DOM basics or events, deep dive, animations, blah, 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 text content form. See, there's so many things we can do. Some, they jump straight to asynchronous JavaScript, some of them, which is a big part. You see how many lessons are here. It's 39 lessons for asynchronous JavaScript with building 3 things, 4 things into multiple lessons. Then after this, what I noticed is in some courses, after asynchronous JavaScript, they jump over to object-oriented programming without enough coding experience on building components under the belt. So then people start thinking about, oh, should I do objects or no? How should I start writing my classes? And that's a really big overhead. We just want to make things work for now, and that's the best way to learn. Yeah, I started ranting.
That's all right.
Yeah,
there's a lot of interest, so maybe we'll look at doing the testing sometime next week.
Yeah, let's probably talk about our schedules offline or something.
Yeah.
Do a JavaScript game next. What sort of game are we talking about?
You do some Flappy Bird.
Yeah, I think that's it. Cool. I think I had fun. I hope you guys had fun as well. And Kevin, I hope you had fun too.
Yeah, I did. It was great. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So,
shall we call it a night?
Yes. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. I'm glad that a lot of people saying you're enjoying it. So I'm glad that you enjoyed this, and we'll schedule a time. I'll make sure to schedule it ahead on YouTube so you know when it is, and I'll be mentioning it if you're following me anywhere, whether it's Twitter, my newsletter, or anything else. So you can find out when I'll be going live with the testing segment of this. We'll do it sometime next week.
Yeah, and if you're interested in learning JavaScript, I have this course on JavaScript. I'm not too sure if you can see the URL.
There's a link, sir, in the description.
All right, cool. There's a link in the description below. So if you're interested, you can check it out. The next registration is on 1st February. So that's the next intake. But in the meantime, if you want to join, I will send you a free email course where I'll help you overcome the different blockages and mental blocks to JavaScript. So that should help for now. All right, that's
awesome.
all I have for promo stuff tonight.
All right. Have a good night, everybody, or morning, wherever you are. And I'm going to hit... How do I end? I never remember how to end a stream in YouTube. There it is. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.